Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Sam's Doing Stuff. What am I doing today? Well, today I'm going to talk about what I learned at the International Firewood Expo, and it might surprise you. Stick around. Yeah, my last video, of course, was covering the entire International Firewood Expo. Well, what I thought was the entire expo, and I'll get into that in a minute. So, since that video, actually in one day I've gained over 200 new subscribers. So a little bit of this is got to cater to you guys to let you know who I am and what I'm doing here. So my name's Sam Easton. No relation to Andrew Easton, I wish. Anyway, so yeah, I've been doing firewood my entire life. Started off like a lot of you. I probably, just started to heat my house, and this was in our old house. And my dad, who's 88 now, he got to a point where he couldn't do firewood anymore, so I would give him my extras, and I just build up firewood as you go, you just keep stacking. And I got enough that when we moved here, we have now a gas fireplace, and I didn't want to move all of my cords of firewood, so I sold it, and I sold 10 cords of firewood when I moved here, every bit of it, just like that. And I thought, wow, selling firewood, I still want to, of course, supply my father to give him his firewood, but I just, had the bug. I'm a woodhound, just like you are. And as I continue to make firewood, I realized that since I'm going to sell out every year, it makes sense to keep making more. And I enjoy doing it. It's just, like I said, I got the bug. So I want to make more firewood. I want to grow what I'm doing into a business. Of course, I'm going to continue to supply my parents with firewood. They get all of the ugly stuff. And as you can see here, all of this stuff is just premium. It's just beautiful. And I'm really OCD when it comes to firewood. And every single piece that I make is made with this County Line box store splitter. That's right, as Andrew Easton called it, the Glacier. It is slow. It is so slow. And if I want to keep making firewood, and I want to make more firewood, and I want to sell it all, except for what I give to my parents, I need something faster because, not getting time back. As I've said in the previous video, I have two parameters. If it saves my back and it saves my time, well, that's what I'm going to spend my money on. So now we get into the meat and potatoes of it, okay? Yeah, so you want to upgrade your box store splitter to something pro level. And I think a lot of you might be out there thinking the same thing I am. You're making firewood, you sell a little bit on the side. Well, if I can make more, I can sell more, So what do you think about when you're gonna upgrade, okay? First of all, every single one of those pro level splitters is faster. You can't get much slower than this. I think the cycle time is around 15 seconds. 7.5 out and 7.5 back or something like that. Every single pro level splitter is gonna be faster than this. I think the slowest one out there might be 5 seconds cycle time. I don't know. Some of the big box wedge type splitters, they're gonna take longer, but they're making multiple pieces at once. So you gotta factor that in. Anyway, so everything is faster. Number two, is it gonna save my back? Okay, it's gonna definitely save my time. Is it gonna save my back? So you might think, well, if it's got a log lift, then that's gonna save your back. I already have a log lift, and most of you out there probably have a small tractor that you can use to work with firewood. That's my log lift. I put logs on pallets, I lift them up right here, and I set them next to the splitter. So I got that worked out. So that's not super important to me. Your next consideration might be, well, of course, price. But believe it or not, that's not the most important thing to me. The most important thing to me, after saving my back and saving my time, is the quality of the product. If I'm gonna sell this stuff, I want to sell the best. That's just me. I'm not selling bulk. I'm selling a higher quality product so I can charge more. Why? Really quick, and this is why I love Joe from Ohio Woodburner. He's taught me a lot just by watching his channel. This is a commodity. When you start with a full-size log, you can either get that for free, you can go out and cut it down yourself. You can do a number of things. You can even pay for it to be delivered to your house, but that commodity is your raw material and it is worth X amount, okay? If you want to make that commodity worth more, you have to do something to it. So what do? We split it into smaller pieces so people can handle it and make firewood out of it. Well, you can go beyond that, okay? You can split it into even small pieces so people aren't just heating with it. They're using it for enjoyment. So when you get a nice small split like this, which is around 3 or 4 inches, well, 4 inches, yeah, about 4-inch split, you know, you're gonna get a higher end customer. Yes, you are. Trust me, believe me, I've learned it from Joe and he's absolutely right. You're gonna get a higher end customer with nicer, smaller splits. And if they look pretty, they'll pay even more for it. Then what I've gone to is I am stacking my firewood in these bins. So when I deliver it to a customer, it will be pre-stacked, put wherever they want it, and that's another service that I can charge even more for. So I'm looking to turn that raw product into as high of a dollar amount as I can. And the more you work with this stuff, the higher the value is. And while we're on the subject of value, then yes, we will talk price. Price is important. How much of my own money am I spending? Now, when you're watching my channel, at this point in my career, I am spending my own money, okay? It would be wonderful for a log splitter company to send me a demo. I would absolutely accept it. If it happened, it happened. But right now, I'm thinking about spending my own money. So we're jumping up from an $800 splitter, I spent about $800 on that, to a pro level splitter. From what I saw, you know, you're looking at like the Log Ox Summit or possibly the Easton Made, not Evo, oh goodness, the Easton Made Ultra. Woo! Anyway, so the Easton Made Ultra, you know, $6,000. That's where you are. So you're jumping from $800 to $6,000. So I got to ask myself, what am I getting for that? Am I saving my back? Nope, we already talked about that. I've got a system for saving my back, and those splitters, neither one of them have a log lift. All of the, you know, pro level splitters that are horizontal like that, until you got into like the bigger machines, no log lift. So no log lift. Doesn't really matter that much, but no log lift. Number two, will it save my time? Absolutely. Like I said before, they are all faster. But are they $6,000 faster or at least $5,000 faster? I don't know. That's a really hard pill to swallow. They're all well built. That I'll give you. You are getting high quality for what you're paying for, you know? But that county line splitter, knock on wood, has lasted me over 10 years. And it's still running. It's got a Honda engine on it, and that says a lot for Honda because that's the meat and potatoes of that splitter is the Honda engine. So spending $6,000 to transition from a horizontal splitter to another horizontal splitter. This has 28 tons of force. There is not a single log that I have ever found that it would not go through. To a faster machine, yes, it just didn't seem to make sense to me at all. So what's my next option? Well, as I said earlier, what's important to me besides my back and my time? Quality of the product and service to the customer. So, what's the best quality split you can get? It's with a vertical splitter. Those things are so precise and they make such beautiful splits, you know? That's my next level. That's where I'm at. So now I'm thinking about, of course, the Axis, or the Wolf Ridge VS, or the Split Force that moves around. They've got all different types of vertical splitters. And all of those machines are well above $10,000. You know, I believe the Axis base price is around 13. Same with the Wolf Ridge, around 13. If you get that Split Force that'll drive around and it's got the conveyor and everything, that's $24,000. So, yeah, that's a pretty big jump from an $800 splitter. So I was really getting discouraged, seriously. I was excited to see all of that machinery, but I was a little downhearted until I started watching YouTube, and I don't know how I missed it. I was watching some YouTube and I was researching vertical splitters, and along comes the Split Fire. Now, how did I miss those guys? They were at the show. Well, they were behind all the logs, and I went back and I looked at my drone footage looking for Split Fire after I found them, and there they are sitting behind the big truck full of logs, and somehow I just didn't see them. I sure wish I could go back and look at those machines in person. But from what I saw on YouTube, the Split Fire has a 3, maybe 3.5 second cycle time. It's a vertical splitter, so you get the quality I'm talking about because it's precise. It can come with a log lift, so if I decide I need a log lift, it can have a log lift. It's an additional charge. They price this thing really low, and then you can add on what you want. I can get a Honda engine for it. That's a pretty good thing. It just checks I think it checks all the boxes. I think it does. It saves my back, it saves my time, it gives me a good quality product, at least as good as what I'm making right now, maybe better. And guess what? It starts under $3,000. Yes, the Split Fire 1165V, I think it is, starts at under $3,000. Now, I would probably want a couple of options on there, so might push it a little higher than $3,000, but my goodness, I sincerely wish I had seen that at the show, because that's where I'm at. That is exactly where I'm at. I'm looking at going from the box store splitter to something that I can afford. I could sell 1 season's worth of firewood and pay for that immediately. And that's a good option, okay? I'm not producing hundreds of cords. I'm producing dozens of cords maybe. And yeah, it's an exciting machine. Now, what are the downsides of the Split Fire 1165V? Well, of course, if you're gonna be spending half what you would on the next level up, there's gonna be some drawbacks. The first drawback I saw is it only has an 18-inch deep working surface, and I get some tree service wood that's a lot bigger than 18 inches. So that was a bit of a concern, but then I thought, I'm not gonna get rid of my box store splitter. And if I can split those down to quarter-sized pieces, well, then I can finish them off on the vertical Split Fire. That makes sense. So that problem solved. Then it only has 7.5 tons of force, and that's plenty to get through a typical firewood round, you know, a straight grained. But when you get into some knots, it might have a little bit of trouble. I watched more videos and I was pretty convinced that it would be manageable. You split around the knot, you know, try and get, and that knot's gonna go to my parents anyway, so I'm not really worried about cutting straight through the knot. I'll get the good stuff all around it, give that to my customers, and my parents will get the knot. So that's not a problem. And to be quite frank, most of my material is gonna be less than 18 inches anyway. So the problems that I talked about aren't really problems. There's workarounds. And for the amount of time that machine would save me, let me just give you an example. One of the videos I watched, and I gotta trust those other YouTubers, they're not lying to me. I take about an hour or more to split a third of a cord with that box store splitter. And they were doing a third of a cord or a full basket in 20 minutes. That's a significant time savings. And that is all due to that 3.5 second cycle time. That's a big plus and a lot of value for a low cost. So that's what I learned from the Firewood Expo. It's all great machinery. I should have looked around more. I should have searched until I found Split Fire, but I just didn't know they were behind that pile of logs. And I think I know the direction I'm going. I really do. Now, the way I work, of course, you know, I'm bouncing these ideas off of you guys. If anybody has any experience with the Split Fire and you want to tell me about it, please tell me in the comments, because, you know, if you're a subscriber to the channel already, you know, we learn from each other. We bounce ideas off of each other and we all learn. So that I would really appreciate. So anyway, I think I need to get to work. This is Sam's doing stuff, not Sam's talking about stuff. We got this out of the way. Let me show you how I make firewood. hear it? You hear it? Rain. It's raining. That's right. I'm under a roof. I love this setup. Yep, that took me a little bit over an hour, so it's time to take a break. Oh, I am wrestling those pieces quite a bit on this old box store splitter. I like the system. I'm not lifting them up on there anymore. Those big rounds, I think those are about 20 inches, red oak. And rolling them down off the pallets, not a big deal. That would still stay the same. With the split fire, I would put a stack of pallets next to it and I would set the rounds and use that as a work table. It works great, and pallets are free. Anyway, yeah, that's where I'm landing. The 1 hour for that versus doing that in 20 minutes is really, really what you're paying for. Plus the vertical splitter is more ergonomic. You gotta admit that. Even with using the pallets as a work table, I'm just transferring them over. I'm not wrestling them the way I would do on that. So, yeah, I think all the boxes are checked. That's where I am. Once again, if you have anything to add in the comments, please do. And new subscribers, welcome to the community. We're all here to learn from each other. I really, really appreciate you hitting that subscribe button. We're gonna be doing a lot more. This whole woodyard area you saw, we got 2 barns. I'm sitting in one of them. I've got another barn that's I'm working it to be a winter barn so I can work in the winter. Yeah, a lot being done here to improve my whole woodyard situation. I'm very fortunate to have these 2 large buildings and all this concrete to work on. It's gonna be a great setup when I get all of the right pieces of the puzzle in place. So once again, thanks for stopping by, and I will see you next time when I'm doing more stuff.